someone at a restaurant or whatever, the do you know who I am, or you got to get this done because I have the Thursday throwdown to record here. Do you ever throw your weight around like that?
No, I have tried that before. My wife was very embarrassed when I tried it. So there was a particular way, and it worked one time that I ever did it. And it was like 15 years ago, or probably 10 years ago now, when I used to, pre-kids, when we used to go out. And we'd want to go to a bar, like we'd go out for drinks or go out for dinner, then we'd want to go up to a bar to meet with our friends. I don't have VIP access anywhere. And I'd look at the line. So if the line was reasonable, I'd just wait in the line and go get in. If the line was so long that I didn't want to wait in it, there's no way whether we're waiting in this line for an hour and a half. I would just go to the front and be like, do you know who I am? Let me in.
And it worked once?
It worked one time because the guy thought I was Rick Gaiman.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
He's like, Rick, run good. I was like, yeah, my man. How we doing? Let me in.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience. We're doing the Thursday again, Cam and Emerson on show 1. You can go back in the archives and check that out. Different vibe today because I want a different vibe on these Thursday shows. Sia Nejad, Pete Overzet joining me this time around. Guys, I still don't have a name for this show. I asked people last week to dump them in the comment sections. But Pete, I know that you do a lot of interaction with people on YouTube. Do you find that you ever get good tips and good names from people when you ask questions to the audience? Does it usually work out for you?
It's funny you mentioned those two types of things. I feel like I get good tips about like random things. Good names, though, I think people try to end up being like overly clever, or it's hard for them to get in your shoes and understand what you're trying to accomplish with a name. So I want to give the chat and the community credit for being creative and having good ideas, although I don't know if I lean on them for names per se. Although I will say one of my shows I do on Mondays, the portfolio review, and there's a coffee pour. We spelled it P-O-U-R. Someone in my chat suggested that. So maybe I need to wind back this entire take. Yes, embrace the chat, Pat.
Sia, so far the best two we have is the Thursday Throwdown or the PMV, the Pat Mayo Variety Hour.
I don't like either of those. I'm not going to lie to you. Throwdown feels like wrestling. Like I'm out on that. And then the PMV, like they're going to refer to it by the acronym, which I still think people will not really understand what it is. And Variety Hour sounds like old school-ish. We can do better.
The other one that we had, based on what Jared revealed, producer Jared, and his story that he was so open to share with us last week on the show, when he was having a Thursday Throwdown one night, Pete, and he broke his banjo string, so we could just call it the banjo string.
Yeah, you know what? There is something to be said about a good inside joke that the audience gets and then just alienates every potential new viewer. So, I'm no stranger to that.
Well, sometimes you got to play the anti-correlation parlay, Sia, whether it be under receptions, over yardage. Maybe you have to do the anti-SEO to get people to watch it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm a big negative correlation guy, so I'm in on that. I don't hate those two names, by the way. I just feel like we can do better.
All right, well, so dump them in the comment section this time around. Sub to Mayo Media Network, smash the like. While you're here, you can always get them in the archives, Pat Mayo Experience audio, on Spotify, on Apple. Leave a 5-star rating and review if you're feeling generous. That stuff always helps, especially with golf major season just around the corner. Boost us up in the Apple charts and the Spotify charts. First question for you guys. What do you guys eat for breakfast every day? I'm very curious about this. I've been asking a ton of people. Pete, what do you eat for breakfast? Is it the same thing every morning, or do you mix it up?
Well, I know you're not going to like my response because I recently listened to your episode with Davis, but I'm one of the no breakfast guys. My one exception is if I do work out in the morning, then I have to eat. Like I'll need to do some food at like 9 or 10. But normally I work out in the afternoon and I'm eating my lunch right after that.
So you eat before, like you eat, then you give yourself an hour, then you go work out?
No, like ideally I would, yes, I would like to work out and then eat immediately after. I don't like working out with food in my stomach.
Okay. How about you, Sia? Do you mix it up? Do you eat breakfast?
Yeah, I eat breakfast every day. I love breakfast. I love like pancakes and like all the traditional stuff. I will say that, this is going to sound, speaking of old school, it's going to sound so old school. My wife, I wake up and my wife has breakfast for me, but it's not traditional breakfast. And part of the reason is because she wants something at least moderately healthy. So like waffles and syrup and that kind of thing's not on the table, so to speak. I believe it or not, there'll be like a burrito situation with like turkey, or there'll be like a turkey burger situation. It's rare that I have an omelet or something like that because the turkey burger thing is pre-made and it's just very filling. So I love breakfast, but that's what I generally have.
So
Pat, can I say that I would become a breakfast person if I had a beautiful breakfast spread just awaiting for me every morning where I don't have to lift a finger? That sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know what this sort of alternate reality is all about. I'm in a new phase right now. So I've been eating a 3-egg omelet with ham in it, vegetables in it, and a piece of like sourdough toast with some cheese or whatever it might be. Maybe I'll put butter on it. But that's what I eat every single morning. Then I don't eat until like mid-afternoon. I try to have something a bit heftier and try to have a lighter dinner. But here's the thing, see, I'm really bad at making omelets, especially now, because as I pointed out in a couple shows, my house has been under renovation for 2 months, so I've only been able to cook off of a hot plate. So it doesn't facilitate using a really large pan. You can only use a really little pan. So it gets pretty, like, in confined spaces. You can't get the entire spatula underneath it in one good go. And there's not a whole lot of room to flip it. So the decent thing about an omelet is you can just kind of like mix it up, make it a scrambled eggs at that point.
Right.
But either way, I'm just out on the renovations. But having the same thing every morning, I don't know if it's good or bad. I'm just in this routine now.
I think that's the perfect breakfast. I honestly do. From just a everything standpoint, I think that's perfect. And I would screw up an omelet too. I have no idea. Like you could give me exact instructions in a big pan and a nice, all those things. I will screw up an omelet. It'll just turn into scrambled eggs. It won't taste very good. I think you're having the perfect breakfast personally.
Pete, can you do omelets?
Yeah, but they're not my go-to. I like doing like my own kind of bastardized version of like huevos rancheros, get me a tortilla, some over easy eggs, throw some beans in there and kind of do a little Mexican hodgepodge dish. That's kind of my go-to if I indulge in breakfast.
That sounds delicious. You should just eat that every morning. That sounds great.
I know you guys are trying to twist my arm. If I'm going to go tell my wife, I was like, I want the Sia setup. Let's make this happen.
Sia, does your wife really like hammer down on like good, healthy meals? Because she's like the most in shape person I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I am.
No, she is.
She is. Well, so that's the thing. She did like the bodybuilding thing and won a bunch of overalls. Like, so she's really into nutrition. She knows like the ins and outs of it. And I have like pretty high blood sugar for some reason. So I have to like watch my sugar intake to some degree. And so she's like all over it. So, generally speaking, I eat pretty healthy. I used to eat fast food all the time. But yeah, she's really healthy and she's passed it on to me for the most part. I've got like green shakes that she makes. Like for the record, I do a lot of chores. I take out the trash. I do the dishes. I do all the laundry. She happens to do the cooking side of it because I suck at it. But yeah, it's working out for me.
Sia gets home from work. He just has a cigar and a whiskey waiting for him. Throws his feet up, just vacuuming underneath.
Yeah, you got your apartment in the city. You're just Don Draper is what we discovered here.
Maybe.
Did you guys see the new UFL rules? And for people who don't know, the UFL is that spring football league that happens. Here are 4 things. And the NFL is like taking note to see what's going on here. The tush push is banned in the UFL. 60-yard field goals or longer are worth 4 points and not 3. You're not allowed to punt inside the 50-yard line, and you only need 1 foot in bounds for a catch. Pete, would you adopt any of these rules to the NFL?
Yeah, and like my framework for thinking about anything rules related is entirely fantasy driven. I just want to see more points. So things that lead to more points, I'm going to be more pro. So obviously 1 foot, let's make the barrier of a catch a little easier. That'll result in more extended drives, big plays, etc. I'm a little torn on the field goal one because technically it is more points, but I also don't want to incentivize teams to kick field goals whatsoever. Like I just think it should be no kicking at all. So I do like the no punting with inside the 50, but those two, I'm having a hard time deciding if I like the extra point for kicking.
Well, see, the no punts inside 50 is really intriguing because I think there's a strategy play to this that if someone is, 3rd and 23 from their own 49, do you just like let them get 4 yards so then they have to go for it?
Yeah, I don't like that rule at all. To be honest with you, I love what happens to coaches who make the improper decision on 4th and, whatever, inside the 50. I think I like the fallout from that. I like the conversation that comes from that. And I do think you're right. That's going to be navigated in such a way where a defense is going to want them to get to 4th and 19. So they have to go for it on the 49-yard line. I don't like that. I don't like the 60-yard field goal things, especially in this new day where field goals count for a lot. If we're trying to incentivize non-field goals, which I would imagine we're trying to do by doing the 4th down thing, I think incentivize 4 points is a ton. Like I don't even like that rule is ridiculous. I do like the 1 foot in bounds thing because I do think it extends drives, but also will probably give us a lot more spectacular catches. We already have those with 2 feet in bounds, but the manner in which a player can like extend away from the sideline and tap 1 foot in, I think that's going to be a highlight reel stuff.
I'm of two minds on the 1 foot because it's 1 foot in college, it's 1 foot in the CFL, it's now going to be 1 foot in the UFL. At the very highest level, 2 feet in seems right to me.
I think the at least, right, what's been the huge argument with NFL stuff? Everyone's like, the rules of what defines a catch are so arbitrary and all of this stuff with the possession. I at least think with the 1 foot, it actually kind of simplifies it a little bit. Maybe still like the possession through falling to the ground or someone stripping out of your hand is what happened in the divisional round there with the Broncos and the Patriots could still be confusing. But I do think it makes it just a little less ambiguous, and that's a good thing for anything having to do with what's a catch.
I still don't think Santonio Holmes got his second foot in that Steelers win over Arizona. What was it, 15 years ago, whatever it was. I still don't think he got that second foot down. A lot of video would suggest he did. A lot of video would suggest he didn't, but we don't need to worry about it. It still, here's the thing. It still would have been an amazing catch if it was just 1 foot in that. I don't know why I just referenced that catch, but it's the first thing that came to mind. And again, like it still would have been a great catch. I think 1 foot, make it consistent with college. I think that makes sense.
Do you think the tush push just ends up being out?
Yes. In the NFL?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because when the Eagles did it 4 times in a row on that Sunday night or Monday night football, it might've been Thursday night, whatever primetime that game that was, I think it was against the Giants. They ran it 4 times in a row. In that moment, I tweeted out that at the May meetings, the tush push is going to be banned. I don't know if I'm going to be right on that, but I thought the optics of that were terrible. I think you can still do QB sneaks and all that. You just can't do the push part with somebody lining up behind them. I think it's going to be outlawed. If it's not this year, it'll be next year, but I think it'll be in May.
Do you think it could swing back the other way, Pete? Only because the Eagles did it so effectively, and then Lane Johnson goes out, and obviously they lost Jason Kelce in the offseason the year before, and then they just stopped doing it because they couldn't do it anymore?
Yeah, and that was an argument for a while of like, of course, the Eagles want to be the only ones or who are pro tush push because they're the ones that are good at it. But I feel like we saw some other teams do it successfully. I mean, the Seahawks were using AJ Barner with the tush push at times this year, but it does seem like I feel like if you pulled most of the league in their heart of hearts, they would just want to get rid of it. It's just there's the criticisms of being soft. Everybody clowned on the Packers for being the ones who, even proposed this in the first place. And I think there's this like, it's like when people were embarrassed to say who they voted for or whatever in the election. It's like people don't want to say they voted against the tush push. But I think deep down, a majority of these owners would be happy to get rid of it.
Do you think there's an optimal person to do this? Because Jalen Hurts kind of felt like that as well. And like AJ Barner is an interesting example. Like Cam Hayward was doing it for the Steelers as well. Like 2 huge guys, obviously very strong. You can push the pile. So if it's just to pick up like a half yard, a yard, could they get that every single time? Could they even just get that under center without anyone behind them and pushing them? Like that would be kind of the thing as well. Could they just move that pile? But I always think back to probably like 15, 20 years ago at this point, that the best goal line back that I can ever remember witnessing, like running into a pile and just popping into the end zone, was LaDainian Tomlinson. Obviously, one of the best running backs ever. But then you would have the Giants be like, hey, you know who we should use around the goal line? Brandon Jacobs. And you're like, man, that makes so much sense. He's just going to run everyone over. He was god-awful near the goal line. He ended up with touchdowns because they gave him so much volume from the 1, 2, and 3 yard line. But it was always kind of like my thought that you'd want someone smaller, strong, but smaller in those instances. Hence why I think that Jalen Hurts worked out really well. It's not like he's a tiny person, but compared to some of the bigger guys that they're using, there's just more to tackle and throw you off balance when you're big, at least in my mind. I'm sure these guys have scouted it. They know much more than me. But my initial thought on the tush push would be, hey, you just want some guy who's like 6 feet tall who can squat a ton.
Which Jalen Hurts definitely can do. I mean, we do have to give the Eagles a little bit of credit because of their timing and their blocking, especially when Jason Kelce was there. I mean, so yeah, I guess, I don't know, like part of me thinks like bring a linebacker in to run it. Like some guy that's like kind of like shaped like Jalen Hurts, but isn't too big, not Cam Hayward big, but just like typical linebacker big. I think that might be the new like tight end situation with Barner. Like, but again, I just feel like the optics of it are pretty bad. I don't think fans want to see it, to be honest with you. Inside Philadelphia, outside Philadelphia, I don't think fans want to see that. And so I think that'll be ultimately the reason why it goes away.
AJ Barner played quarterback in high school. So that actually kind of makes some sense of why you
Yeah.
would use him, because then you can start running fake. Although no one really
Yeah.
does. Like, you see an occasional tush push fake, but it's too effective and you don't have to do anything weird off of it.
Yeah, I think that's, to me, it's like, this is football, right? Strategy should evolve. We saw, offenses for so long hitting these big plays downfield, and then defenses adjusted. The type of defensive backs teams were, targeting change to slow down these wide receivers. And now everything is kept underneath with, the high shell defenses and all of this. So it's like, all right, let's evolve the strategy to stop the tush push. I mean, get some maulers up there to help stop this. Let's see the offensive start to do more trick plays. Like, isn't that what's supposed to happen? Is there's an inefficiency, a smart team exploits it. It's a copycat league, and then defenses adjust to make that a no longer, plus EV play or whatever.
But the only thing is, like, those inefficiencies that end up getting exploited and then rectified by defenses or whatever, they're usually exciting to watch. Like, this is not exciting. We have turned that play into rugby effectively. That's not exciting to watch. And when we saw it 4 times in a row on a primetime game, I honestly think all the NFL owners, and it was certainly the commissioner, I would think, would be like, oh, this isn't really the best look. And I think that's what it really comes down to. Yeah, they should be adjusting, but do we actually want to see that play? I think the answer is no.
For field goals, instead of introducing the foot, because guys are just making too long of field goals. Like, once you get by midfield at this point, Cam Little walks in, he's like, done, not a problem for me. How do we? I don't want to add an extra point to it. I think that's stupid. But can we make it more narrow? Is that something we can do? The uprights.
It is. The 3 of us can make that happen. I think we can. Let's do it.
I wonder. I mean, I guess we're not going to see regression with this. Like, the kickers are just going to get better. I mean, this feels like the 10-foot rim with like the NBA and college basketball at this point. It does seem a little too easy. But to be honest with you, there really is only like 4 or 5 kickers that you can legitimately count on from like 55, 58 plus. So, I mean, it's not like every kicker is doing this, and we'll see what ends up happening. But those kickers are super valuable. We see Brandon Aubrey like negotiating. I can't remember what the latest number was, but I think they're offering like $6-7 million a year on Brandon Aubrey, or maybe even something greater than that. So I think until we get like half the kickers being able to do what Brandon Aubrey does, I don't know that we need to have a fix necessarily.
They're offering him $6.5 million. He wants $10 million a year, and I actually don't know who's right on this side. Like, can a kicker really be worth $10 million a year?
Yes.
Is he that valuable?
Yes. The way the new rules are with respect to field position, if you're the Cowboys, you need basically 2 first downs from the 35, assuming that's where you're getting it from, to be in field goal range. 2 first downs to get 3 points potentially. I think he is that valuable.
Is this something?
Well, here's the thing. He's technically valuable, but you kind of have to make some playoff runs to eventually show that value. So I buy a kicker being valuable on an actual perennial contender. I don't know if I buy it being valuable on the perennially disappointing Dallas Cowboys.
But if this is something let's say he ends up making $9 million a year, and you start seeing people pay for kickers all the time, does this create like a chain reaction where we've seemingly lost a lot of running back talent over the years? And it started probably about 10 years ago. And then you start to see some of these athletes who would have been running backs in college, they're just switching positions, knowing that if they're going to the next level, their longevity, their paychecks are just better at any other position, unless you're one of 3 guys in the league, where people will just run through running backs as much as possible. They don't want to pay running backs. We're seeing a slight shift back to that because a lot of the talent dried up. And this happens in sports sometimes, but if people can see you can make $10 million just by being a really good kicker, it doesn't feel like enough really good athletes decide that they want to be football kickers. But if this is the path of least resistance to getting to the NFL, you rarely ever get hit. It's the world's easiest paycheck, and you can do it to 45. Is this just a position people now want to clamor for, and we just start to see even more good kickers?
Probably. But I mean, keep in mind, there's only 32. At least in the NFL, there's only 32 you can have. Whereas at the running back position or any other position, at least you have like a depth chart where you can fit in on that team as the 3rd or 4th string running back or wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, I think people do that, but that's a real hard position to get given how many slots there are for it.
Yeah, but we don't have enough good kickers. And Pete, if you were a kicker, I feel like you would know if you were NFL quality or not, wouldn't you? Like, oh, I can make a field goal from here. Therefore, I could be in the NFL.
Yeah, although so many kickers and people who have tried it talk about how different it is when you have it being snapped and a bunch of monsters trying to block the kick. A little different dynamic. But do you know what the real trickle down effect of what you're describing? And again, this is a cross show reference to what you and Davis were talking about. It's going to hurt our U.S. soccer pipeline even more, because these kids would say, "Why would I be a soccer player when I could just go make $10 million a year kicking the ball 2 to 3 times a week?" For the NFL. That's what you're really going to do, is sabotage us even further in soccer, Pat.
This is my ultimate goal, to undermine U.S. soccer. Not that they really need my help on that front.
They don't.
Look, I'll be straight with you. We talk all the time about getting better at work, sports, in life, whatever it might be. But most guys ignore the one thing that actually drives all of it: your head. Therapy isn't a weakness, it's a tool. I've seen it help guys deal with work stress, family stuff, breakups, addictions, whatever it might be. Just getting unstuck when everything feels heavy. The problem? It's usually a pain to get started. Long wait lists, huge costs, total hassle, you know the deal. That's why Rula is different. Rula makes therapy simple, affordable, and fast. They work with most major insurance plans, and sessions can cost as little as $15. You answer a few quick questions, they match you with a licensed vetted therapist that actually fits what you need, and you can be talking to someone as soon as the next day. No weeks of waiting, no guessing if you pick the right person. If you've been putting this off, stop! Go to rula.com/mayo and get started today. That's RULA.com/mayo. Once again, that's rula.com/mayo. Take the first step. Take control of your mental health. The new year's here, and if you're like me, you're gonna want to get your house back on track. Considering I've been through 8 weeks of renovations, my house still isn't back on track, but I do need some new stuff. That's where WAYFAIR came into play and was quite handy, and had some awesome stuff. WAYFAIR is basically a one-stop shop for everything your home needs. We got new appliances, and now we need crap in the kitchen that matches that stuff. Or so I was told. Go on to WAYFAIR, get it. Stuff to put in the drawers to separate everything with our new cabinets, also on WAYFAIR. Complete game changer. It's been awesome. And I haven't had to go to the store. I've just been able to do it from home, which I find is a big win for me. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track for the new year for way less. So head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com, WAYFAIR. Every style, every home. Are they going to be able to play games in Guadalajara? Isn't that like in 4 months?
Have you seen the videos from that? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you have.
It's wild.
I know somebody out there who I don't want to name any names, but like I think they're fine, but I know they couldn't get back when they wanted to get back, and I don't have an update, so I'm hoping everything is okay there. But that's wild.
Yeah, because they're supposed to. I think they're hosting. A Mexico game, like at the very beginning. I'm assuming they just, if this continues to go on and they can't like rebuild anything. I don't think the stadium was touched or anything like that. But if they don't have like pipelines in and out to get people in and out, I'm guessing they just have to move cities. They have to do it more concentrated in Mexico City or wherever else in Mexico that they're hosting.
Also, regardless of this incident, the latest, I mean, is it a good, like, I don't know the extent to which the cartel like runs things around there, but like, if I were a cartel guy and I wanted to make some noise, I'd probably wait for the World Cup. I'm not sure like that's like the best thing to plan there right now. But again, I don't necessarily know the dynamics in terms of how much power they have, but we're kind of witnessing it over the last week.
Yeah, I mean, you're a Mexico expert, Pete. Please tell us what's going on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the people who, it was like during the COVID stories, right? Where there was the couple who went to Costa Rica or whatever, like on their first trip together, that were stranded in Costa Rica for 6 months. I'm just thinking about, all the poor souls who just tried to escape the United States for a little bit of sunshine here in February and now are stuck in a cartel war. My heart truly goes out to them.
Well, we can talk about something less tragic, more fun in terms of international community, Canada versus U.S. Did you guys wake up to watch it?
I did.
I didn't, Pat. I feel bad.
Why? You don't even feel bad. If you don't care about hockey, you don't care about hockey.
Well, but here's the thing. As a kid, I used to care about the Olympics. I was the kid, like at all hours watching the Olympics. As each one has gone by, particularly the Winter Olympics, I've just lost interest. And I really would have wanted to watch Canada, USA at the very least I got to be honest, when I woke up, I didn't even realize it was on. I feel horrible.
Wow. What time zone are you, Sia?
East Coast.
Okay, so yeah, you don't even have the excuse. At least the West Coasters were like 5 a.m. wake up call. You gotta be really committed. No, it was 8 a.m. for us.
It was 9 a.m. for me. It was the only time outside of the Butterfield Bermuda Championship that I am in the right time zone to watch sports.
Yeah. No, it was honestly perfect for an early Sunday morning watch. Made it a whole family thing. But I guess I have to ask Pat, as you know, a Canadian, do you resent the bandwagon hockey fans like myself who didn't watch a second of puck until we were close to the gold medal?
Now, because I'm a bandwagon hockey fan, just the only time I watch is during the Olympics or the Four Nations. I don't care about the NHL at all. I don't follow the NHL at all. So, yeah, I think there was a galvanizing thing like that. It's the best thing that could have ever happened for hockey was the USA winning this, by the way.
That's totally fair. Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
I don't think anyone of all the, there's a lot of Canadian cope I've seen on the timeline, a lot of, hang the better team banner in the rafters, but everyone has to agree that this was great for hockey. I mean, NHL has to be licking its chops, the amount of people who are going to go and watch a little bit more hockey down this playoff stretch because of the Olympics.
Yeah, and with the U.S. winning, Canada was watching the NHL playoffs anyway, so trying to get more American viewers is really what they've been trying to do for the past 40 years. This should help, although I feel like this has a very short shelf life, because we've seen this happen in hockey before, and maybe it's because Canada always beat the U.S. in the final that it never really translated over, but people care about this for maybe 2 more days, and then they forget about hockey for 4 years.
Except then there's this whole other side plot to the American men's hockey team where it has now been fully politicized. They got paraded out at the State of the Union address last night. They're getting all kinds of backlash for the conversation with Trump on the phone. So it was like American hockey were just like, they could do no wrong in anyone's eyes for about 12 hours. And then all the goodwill was undone. And now people are mad at them. And it's what a shit show.
I thought that Feinberg had I completely agreed with him. And maybe hockey in the U.S. is different than hockey in Canada, but hockey in Canada is a lot like European soccer. Like if you're good in the 8th grade, like all of a sudden you're out of school playing hockey. And that's just what you do for the rest of your life. You don't really go to class, but most of these people have like junior high education. Some of them end up going to the NCAA, and now with NIL, I doubt they go to class too. But like the pipeline to junior hockey, to like my cousin's doing it right now. He was drafted by the Canadians like 3 years ago. Like he started playing junior hockey in the CHL at like age 15 or something like that. And I mean, I don't know how much he was going to class. He got his high school degree. I don't know if he ever went, but he got it. It's one of these weird things that, do you think that they wanted to sit through a 3-hour State of the Union sitting there, regardless of who was speaking? It just seems like they would have been bored out of their minds. Everyone is bored out of their minds watching that.
I was embarrassed and this is like setting aside any political stuff, but just like the pomp and circumstance of it, like every other person who got like a shout out or the various, people that they were spotlighting in that address, they would stand up, quick applause, sit back down. They like open up the gala doors and these guys walk down single file in parallel aisles and then are forced to stand there for an ungodly amount of time. And I was just cringing for them. I'm like, this whole thing is so embarrassing. It seems so out of place to me. And that's what we do here.
It could be a big galvanizing moment if people really do latch onto it. Like you can almost 1-for-1 point to Vince Carter winning the dunk contest and Canadians getting good at basketball. Like it's shocking how much that correlates. And now Canada has good basketball players. Like I think they beat the U.S. in FIBA. It's like, how is that possible? That maybe next time, maybe that'll be what happens. We trade hockey for basketball in the Olympics.
Can I ask? Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, I was just going to say, Mike Tirico gave that like galvanizing speech at the end of the Olympics. Like, hey, these are all the kids at home now watching them get the gold medals. But I kind of like what Pat's saying, and it could be maybe all the kids are watching at home the State of the Union address that started at 9 p.m. Eastern and went for almost 2 hours and said, I want to be standing up there in the balcony of Congress during this speech. That's what's going to rally the next youth to get into hockey.
Can I just ask a question here about the bandwagon thing? So when it comes to hockey, like I think it's just a sport that people watch anyway, at least to some degree, especially when the playoffs start. But with the Olympics itself, like I would have been at the gym like a few days ago, and I'm seeing like some just random people watching a screen with like Americans, Canadians, whoever it was, speed skating. And I see the end of the race and I see somebody like pumping their fist, like, oh yeah, we got one. I do like, is there like a poser factor when it comes to that? Like with hockey, maybe not as much, or like basketball in the Olympics, but I do feel weird sometimes, like seeing people like suddenly getting interested in like speed skating or curling or whatever. I guess it's a national pride thing, but I also feel like people think they're like into the sport all of a sudden. And I know that they're not.
Well, I think it's the Olympics is the perfect. It is built for the bandwagon fan because you don't need to know anything about these sports. They happen over the course of half an hour that you can watch them, and you can become like a semi-expert, Pete, in like 15 minutes. Like, oh, like when you're watching curling, like really hard. I mean, there was like a Canada cheating controversy in curling, but just to watch, it's like, oh, that's not going to curl enough. Like, he really should have started it out here more. Like, you're like a real expert 20 minutes in.
Yeah, and that to me actually goes to how good is the broadcast, right? One, how good are they at the storytelling, getting you invested in the narratives and the athletes? And two, how good are they at, conveying really tough, inside baseball type scoring for some of these things? Like, I like snowboarding. I snowboard. I still watch those guys compete at the Olympics, and every single jump looks the same to me. And I actually thought like the broadcast in some of those instances don't do a good job of explaining what makes something good or not. Because as viewers, it's like NASCAR, right? It's like, do they crash or not? Does the lady land her triple axel or not? It's so binary. And so I think by necessity, it has to be a bandwagon sport. No one is turning into a figure skating head and watching like the world championships in 2 years later. Maybe they are. Maybe that person exists, but you are in it for the Olympics, for the national pride. And then you check out and you go back to watching Love Island or whatever else you do.
And it's super easy because they're wearing your country's colors. I will cheer for that guy. Like that, like Pete said, it's a very binary option. Like, I'm cheering for that guy. I'm cheering against everyone else.
Yeah, I think the part I find objectionable is like those fist pump moments where it's like, how much do you really care that like on the 400 meter or whatever it is, speed skater came in first place? Like, I get the national pride aspect of it, but it's just a little funny to me.
Didn't realize anti-American Sia was on the show. You're going on a list, pal.
This guy has an entire breakfast spread for him available at 8 a.m. He can't even bother to turn on the TV. You couldn't say, honey, can you turn on the game for me?
It was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So Sunday's the only day I actually don't have a show. So I was definitely sleeping in. Just throwing that out there.
Are your kids old enough where you can sleep in now?
Yes.
What's that?
7 and 9.
What's that like?
It's pretty cool.
It sounds great.
Pretty cool. I don't want to rub it in, but yeah, it's pretty great.
Pete, your daughter sleeping at all, or is she an early riser?
No, she's good. She's like 7:30 to 6:30, so I can't complain on that.
That's not so bad.
Consistent. Yeah.
It's not good when the whole part is like I'm about to have a third in about 3 weeks' time. So I feel like we're resetting the clock because the baby is going to wake up the other kids in the middle of the night. And my wife and I have worked it out. Like, she's going to stay with the baby. She's moving into the other room, the baby's room. We put a bed in there, and I'll handle the other two kids. But I can just see this being an absolute shit show.
And between that and your remodeling project, I mean, you've like taken it. This is like Little House on the Prairie is kind of how I imagine your life at this point.
The remodeling project was supposed to be done last Friday. It is nowhere near being done currently. They promised us. Couldn't keep their promise. Like, we need this done at least 2 weeks before the baby comes, in case the baby comes. And like, we're pushing the limits of this right now. And now I got to go to Florida next week too. So I'm not even going to be around.
What was their excuse? I'm just curious.
They didn't order enough flooring for. I was like, really? You didn't use a measuring tape? You can't
add? It's not a good excuse.
Thanks. So apparently one of the counters that they custom make isn't done yet. It's like, well, you couldn't have done it for when you say you were going to do it. It's just awful. Also, they put in a new like electrical board in my basement next to this thermostat, which controls all of the heat in my basement. And then all of a sudden, the heat didn't work in my basement anymore. And they're like, we don't know. I was like, well, you were just working next to it. It worked fine until you did this. And now it doesn't work whatsoever. So like 6 days later, all of a sudden, the heat turns back on. And now it can't be turned down. It's just on max heat for 8 days. So then we ran out of oil like 2 days ago. It was like minus 20 out during this fucking snowstorm. And then we have to call in an emergency tank of oil. It was $2,000 to fill it up. And I'm like, I'm going to charge these guys for the fucking oil that they made us run through. And my wife's like, well, I don't want to get into it with them when they're not still done. How do I approach this? What do I do?
It's brutal, man. It's brutal. My recommendation would be not to have a third kid synced up with all that. That's kind of the advice I would give.
Well, it's a little late for that. I think I mean, they didn't take any responsibility for the happenstance that they might have done something to the heat.
Correct. Well, because it's so many different contractors coming in and out. The main company that's doing it hired an electrician. The electrician came in for the 2 days he was there. He's never been seen again. So I have no idea now.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
It's
not like you're going to file suit. That's the problem. It's like, who's really going to be accountable for that? If it was one company, you could be like, just give me like 30% off that, like the counter or something, and we'll call it even or something. But that's tough.
Do you think you could ask your wife to just like hold the baby in for a week or two, or is that?
I think that's how it works. I think that's the move on that front.
Mayo, have you ever pulled the move in any kind of talking to a vendor or someone at a restaurant or whatever, the do you know who I am, or you got to get this done because I have the Thursday throwdown to record here? Do you ever throw your weight around like that?
No, I have tried that before. My wife was very embarrassed when I tried it. So there was a particular way, and it worked one time that I ever did it. And it was like 15 years ago, or probably 10 years ago now, when I used to, pre-kids, when we used to go out. And we'd want to go to a bar, like we'd go out for drinks or go out for dinner, then we'd want to go up to a bar to meet with our friends. I don't have VIP access anywhere. And I'd look at the line. So if the line was reasonable, I'd just wait in the line and go get in. If the line was so long that I didn't want to wait in it, there's no way whether we're waiting in this line for an hour and a half. I would just go to the front and be like, do you know who I am? Let me in.
And it worked once?
It worked one time because the guy thought I was Rick Gaiman.
Oh my God. Are you serious?
He's like, Rick, run good. I was like, yeah, my man. How we doing? Let me in.
Directionally accurate.
So
Directionally accurate.
Listen, when you can put all your 5'8" white guys who talk about golf from YouTube in one place, we're all the same guy.
Incredible.
But there was no downside to it. Like the answer was 99% of the time just going to be no, but I wasn't waiting in the line anyway. So I felt like there was no downside. It was a free roll. It was like when, Underdog gives you the bonus funds to play with. Like, I'll throw these on some sort of long shot parlay. And my wife was fucking mortified until we got in that time.
Did you actually say, do you know who I am? Or did you use different words?
No, I said, do you know who I am?
It's amazing.
And then did you say this is Miss Gaiman as you ushered your wife?
I'm here with my lady.
That's actually
like, that
key.
doesn't look like Mina. What's going on here?
Like if you didn't say, do you know who I am? And you were like, I'm Pat Mayo, he wouldn't have known, right? That's the key.
Yeah, well, I'd say it's not that I thought that people would know who I am. I felt like if I said it with enough confidence that they might be like, should I know who that is? Should I let them in? Like that's really what I was going for.
That's incredible.
It is.
Well,
incredible.
There you go.
I want to be able to pull that move at some point and somebody to actually know who I am.
Where was this in Canada?
It was in Toronto.
That is insane because Rick is, for you, if you told me you were in Vegas, that would make more sense. I'm pretty sure Rich is out there.
Yeah.
For you to get misidentified by another golf YouTube bro in your own province, Mayo, that's a tough scene.
Hey, you know what? I got in.
He got it.
I won. I'll have it work out that way every single time if that's what they want to do. Fortunately, I don't go to places with lines anymore, so I don't have to say things like that.
Yes. I feel like that was always, that's something that changes as you get older. Young people want to go to these bustling places where it's popping inside, and then that to them is like, oh, this means it's a good place. To me, I'm like, it's going to be loud. We're not going to be able to hear each other talk. We're going to have to wait a long way. Like, give me the empty place. Obviously, if it's a shithole and you got to check reviews and stuff, but I want the place where there's no one in there. That's what I'm looking for. And I feel like that's the biggest difference between being in your 20s versus being in your 30s is you seek out very different types of places in public.
Couldn't agree more. Sia, do you and your wife go out often?
Not almost never. Maybe to a play or a basketball game with our kids or something, but almost never.
A play? Are you from the
or dinner? I guess every once in a while.
From the 1950s?
Well, we live near the Kennedy Center, or what was once called.
It's called the Trump Kennedy Center.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. So anyway, when it was the Kennedy Center, we used to go to certain things every once in a while. I don't really like Pat, just like you and Pete to some degree. I think I work all the time, and so there's going out with the kids, and that's pretty much a wrap, unless it's a very special occasion.
Yeah, my wife being pregnant hasn't really helped our social life. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
It has gotten me out of things, though, which is great.
Well, a third kid will get you out of everything, by the way. Congratulations.
I feel like we're at the point where we have the impulse to want to be social. And now that April has these younger friends and there's these families and we've met some people like really nice. And Lauren and I are always like, yeah, we would like hang out with them or whatever. But it requires planning ahead like 3 weeks in advance. Like you have to be like, on this Saturday, do you guys want to come over? When naturally what happens, it's like a Saturday morning and then we realize, oh, we have nothing going on. And then we're like, well, if we invite someone over now and we've tried, then it's like, oh, we already have plans. That's the like perpetual loop of wanting to be social, but finding it very difficult to actually execute.
Well, I want to give a special shout out to some of the women that I knew in high school who married older, to people who already have kids and then didn't have kids, because they're out here 40 posting like bikini pics. They're not posting kid pics. Does this happen to you guys? Like, when you first got social media, we're all right around the same age. Like, people be looking good. Like, they be posting like real flashy stuff on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it might be. And now, like, I'm guilty of it too. It's just pictures of my kids all the time or whatever little that I'm up to. These people who married like 50-year-olds at age 25, they're just on vacation all the time, looking great. Very envious of the entire thing.
There was that phase where it switched, where I remember an era, probably again up and through my 20s, where the day after Halloween on social media was just everybody posting their Halloween costumes to various degrees of undress. A very exciting time often for young 20-year-old males. And then there's less and less of those as you get older and more kids, in little ghost outfits and, dressed up as Anna from Frozen. So yeah, things change quickly on that front.
There is also the like divorcee that wants to reincorporate themselves into like the single population. So you kind of get that from, even if they've had kids, you kind of get that from, and we see divorces like, I don't know, is it still 1 out of every 2? But we see a lot of that. So there'll be somebody that goes away and then that comes back 7-8 years later and all of a sudden starts posting similar type pics.
I like this. So my feed might like get a bit spicy again in a few years. But I found mostly every single person I know probably waited until they were at least 30 to get married. The one people that got married like right away that I knew got divorced within like 3 years. They got married at 21 or something like that. But then I had this like rush of like 7 weddings a year from the time I was 30 to 37. I got married during that time too. No one of these people is divorced yet. It's shocking.
I've seen the same exact thing. People who were sort of social norm pressured into getting, because of whatever, values that were, cast upon them, to getting married early. A lot, like the percentage of those divorces versus the percentage of what you're talking about, which is like mid 30s, maybe late 30s, maybe early-ish 30s. Those marriages tend to last a lot longer. And I think there's a very good reason for that.
Pete, is it because people wait?
Yeah, I think so, right? I mean, doesn't it check out that there's an immaturity? And one of my few friends that have gotten divorced got married very young, like right out of college. And it does make sense that people who grow up, mature, settle into what their life and their interests are most likely going to be are going to have a higher success rate than people who jump into a relationship before they're, I don't know, a fully formed individual, I guess.
That completely tracks. Like, I love myself. I would not want to marry 23-year-old me who was just an absolute piece of garbage.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, you barely know who you are at that point, but you also don't know what you want at that point necessarily. You think you do, but you don't necessarily. So yeah, 33 would be much better than 23.
Oh, question for you guys.
Oh yeah, you're young.
The whole group here. So my buddy just went through a breakup after 6-7 years. Hypothetically, I'm sure you guys all love your wives. Hope nothing bad happens, knock on wood. If you were to re-enter the dating pool, what would be your first move? What would you do?
I'd download those apps.
Yeah. What if they suck? Like
I don't know.
They definitely do.
I met my wife on Tinder. So
did you really?
I did. That's back when Tinder was like top-notch fuck app.
Sure,
that's all it was. I don't know what the apps are today, but like if you matched with someone and had more than like 3 back and forth, maybe it was just me being so handsome at the time that you were in.
Do you know who I am?
Yeah, I do. Well, no, I've told this story a bunch of times, but my move would be there'd be like this shit place that we used to go to watch football all the time. It was like a reasonable like dive bar in the middle of the city. It was pretty close to where I live. I was friends with most of the staff because we went in there all the time. So they would play the Fantasy Sports Network. all of the time because people from fantasy would go in after work. We would go there to watch football, and it was on the cable system at the network where we worked. And there wasn't a ton of programming on the fantasy sports network. So it was like 8 hours of Pat Mayo a day whenever it would pop on. So I would always bring my first dates there, not say anything about what I do. And then I would just pop up on the TV, 100% success rate.
That's pretty awesome. That's a great idea.
You can do that, Sia. I had a friend who got stuck at the Dulles airport, and he told me that he saw me on TV on your show in the airport.
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
I think I've heard so many horror stories about the dating apps from my single friends that I do agree that would be part of the portfolio. You know, you kind of have to capitulate to that because that's just kind of table stakes. However, I do think I would really try to go back in on the IRL front. I would start going back to an improv theater. I'm signing up for the kickball classes. I'm going and doing the paint night. Like I am reintegrating myself back into society, trying to meet someone face to face that has shared interests. Just old school, kind of like Pat washing his dishes on a hot plate or whatever down in his basement.
No,
well, a lot of that.
I'm in the boiler room washing plates, Pete. Okay, in that like weird big plastic tub.
A lot of that depends on where you are too. You might not be in like a vicinity where there's like a lot of people to connect with. Like I'm in DC now. I was in South Florida for 17 years. I'd book a lot of weekends. I'd get the dating app thing, which I never had a chance to do because of when I met my wife. But I would plan some trips, like 4 or 5 trips down to Fort Lauderdale, for example. Connect with some of my old friends who are still in that like single phase of their life, and I'd hang out with them.
So you just described the playbook for some fun one night stands. I don't know if you're finding, a partner down in Fort Lauderdale. Are you uprooting your life to then go live there if it works out?
Are you looking to like if I got divorced now with 3 kids? I don't know if I'd want to be like. I think like one night stands would probably be pretty good. That'd be my wavelength. It was my wavelength, and then it wasn't, and then I think I would go back to that being my wavelength.
Probably. You wouldn't want to like jump back into a relationship. I also think like going down there and kind of seeing the scene and immersing yourself in the scene also kind of like gets your sea legs back. It gives you a little bit of confidence. It gives you the idea.
What is the scene in Fort Lauderdale? Isn't that like old people?
No.
I was just in Fort Lauderdale last summer. It's young.
I will tell you, you will not see better looking people in the entire country than South Florida. And that includes Fort Lauderdale, Miami, perhaps a little bit north. I know you're going to be in like that Jupiter, West Palm area. I guess we could include that. But the scene, the vibe, like you're on Las Olas Boulevard, you won't find that matched in that type of concentrated area. Fort Lauderdale is amazing. Yes, a lot of Florida is old, but where I'm talking about in Fort Lauderdale, not old at all.
Sia, do you think it'd be particularly hard for you to reintegrate into the dating scene, knowing you'd be looking not only for a partner, but someone willing to make you breakfast? Now that you've experienced that, that's table stakes for you.
I never asked for. I'm willing to. I would just go back to like microwaving something. Like I can handle it myself. I appreciate that it's handled for me though.
Okay.
Sia gets divorced and it's back to hungry man dinners.
Yeah.
Yes. I used to get made fun of for having Hungry Man all the time for like dinners, like 15 years ago.
People should have made fun
of
me.
Also, I do have to say to Sia, because I'm giving him a hard time about this, my wife is the far, far better cook in our family and does the majority of our dinners, and I, chip in with dishes. So trust me, I get it. I just like the idealized version of waking up in the morning and just having breakfast in bed just for me.
It's there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
How long is...
Ooh.
Yeah, because right now he's pushing 6-7 months.
Oh.
Without a rebound, and I'm kind of got anything out of this.
Well, in a very PC way, rank his ex-girlfriend out of 10 in hotness.
I didn't hear his question. What are we talking about?
I couldn't hear the question either.
Yeah, turn your.
That's on me.
That's
producing.
Me.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's on me. Sorry.
Is this man yelling to Pat?
Yeah, Pat's just looking at me like, what's going on here? How long is too long before you have to lower your standards for a one-night stand? Like, how long sexless is too long?
First of all, I never said anything about a one-night stand. That was cast upon me in the conversation.
All I heard was, Sia, let's go to Fort Lauderdale, let's smoke some meth, let's go to a nightclub, and let's go pick up.
I suppose all that was implied, but no, I never said any of that.
Yeah, so this guy's been like 6-7 months since his breakup. without having sex. And I think he's got to lower his standards, and he's just got to jump on.
But you say the X was 7 out of 10, so he's holding everyone like to a standard of 7 out of 10.
Exactly, and I think that's a mistake.
I agree.
When Sia said sea legs, I was like, he's got to get his fucking sea legs too. Like, fucking hell.
And it isn't. That's the whole issue with the dating app stuff in general, right? Is you start to treat it like I do Amazon reviews, where I'm like, oh, if this is under 4 stars, like I'm not getting this one. Like you immediately like create these barriers because it's like, oh, this person has a dog and I don't like a dog, or this person likes windsurfing and my cousin died in a classic, tragic windsurfing accident, so I can't talk to them. Like you create all of these excuses instead of just actually meeting people. And you do that with looks too. You're like, well, I look at these pictures and like clearly they're not attractive enough for me. So I think you get in trouble with the apps turning into like the way we gamify everything else in our lives.
Follow-up question, Jared. Yeah. What's his attractiveness out of 10?
I would say she was out of his league for sure.
See, that is I feel like that's a worst case scenario. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's bad.
That's not
like
great.
In the restaurant industry, you can punch well above your weight, as I'm doing, as he did. But he did it like exceptionally well.
Yeah, but you're also like 6'4".
Yeah.
That's the ultimate cheat code.
Yeah.
When you're 5'8" Pat Mayo rejoining the dating pool, it's not going to be great.
Yeah, well,
it would be, but if you're like some generic like off-brand version of me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
See, that's the there's an equivalent. There's a term in like gambling. I think it comes from poker called upstuck, and it's just like when you had your highest amount of chips or whatever in front of you, and then you're down. Like you still might be up, but relative to your peak, you feel awful because you're down from that. Like this guy you're describing is totally upstuck because he had it so good, and that was probably on the 99th percentile for him. And so now the median expectation is for him not to hit that high, but that's always going to be what he's trying to live up to. That seems like a bad spot.
He's like tilting a bit. He hit like a 4-game SGP to torture the analogy, and now he's just like, it's straight bets now. Minus 110. That's not as fun. I get it.
What would be your first move though? If you're the guy, does he know he was like
does he know he was punching above his weight?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, do you like the first thing you do, you get back in shape, right? Like that's number 1.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Then number 2.
That seems like the number 1 thing you have to do.
Like that's the easiest thing to do too.
Mm-hmm. And you can potentially meet people, make connections at the gym as well. It serves a couple different purposes.
That's another thing I mentioned in the play. And I don't know if these have exploded by you guys. They're really popular here in Boston now too, are run clubs. And they're essentially just like glorified, like drinking / speed dating type things. But there'll be like a mass of like 500 people who are going out for a run on the Charles River, and then they get drinks after. It seems very good for potential dating.
So where they have those?
Where?
Fort Lauderdale. And everybody's good looking. You will trip and fall into somebody that you end up punching you up on your weight on.
See, that's interesting too. So being in South Florida, like being in LA, where your median hot person is just so much higher versus I'm guessing your friend is still in St. John's, Newfoundland.
That is true. Yep.
You can nab yourself like an 8.5 in LA because they feel like they're on like the bottom 10th percentile of like overall hotness of people around them. So if it's a 7 out of 10 in St. John's, trying to find another 7 out of 10, you're probably in like the top 2% here.
Now, per capita, I would say St. John's actually has good-looking women. There's only a handful, but like...
How do people age in Newfoundland? With my entire family being from Newfoundland. I'm going to say not great.
Not like Fort Lauderdale, I would think. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, too, and this is why I was saying, like, I'm not moving to Fort Lauderdale in that circumstance, like booking some weekends down there, because you have to understand the weather component of this, too. Like, everybody's outside all the time. When I say you can trip and fall into somebody extremely good looking, like, everybody's outside. Everybody's in their gym gear. Everybody's looking good. Everybody's fit because they know they have to be to fit into that sort of fitness environment. Like, it's just... it's a little bit of a cheat code. You're right. You might not meet the person you want to marry, but you might.
With the running clubs, Pete, there's a trail by my house. So when I bring my kids down to like go bike riding on a Saturday morning, like there's like 500 people that run past me. I assume this is one of these run clubs. And if it's like what you're talking about, it's funny to see them because people come in waves, and there's like 12 people that are like, they're here for the running. That's what they're here for.
And then everybody else is here for the beers after.
Yeah, like there's people jogging, they're talking to each other while they're walking, but these other people are like, boom. And then you don't see anyone for like 5 minutes. Then the rest of the people start coming up.
Well, this is why life is all about perspective, because we could, like, I see it and I go, okay, you guys are gonna, do a half-hearted jog for an hour and you're gonna burn like 200 calories if you're lucky. And then you're gonna go drink 1,000 calories in alcohol and woke up hungover and none the better for it. But if I'm in the position where I'm single, all of a sudden, this is my lifeline to meeting someone who enjoys both, one, staying fit, and two, drinking. And so it really is from what vantage point you're looking at these things.
This also, I think, getting back into the dating pool post-divorce, it really depends on the economic situation that you're in too. Like, are you rich coming out of the divorce? I mean, people are going to be less rich coming out of a divorce if they were rich to begin with. But if you're still someone who is pretty affluent, I feel like that would make things a lot easier.
It would, but the run club dynamic and the kickball that Peter mentioned, and I know he's a big pickleball guy from the last pod we did together. I say that in jest, of course. Like those, I feel like the parameters are a little like lessened. I don't think, like, if you're out at a bar or a restaurant, I think there is that built-in expectation that you might need to have a little bit more money, buy drinks, and just be settled in your life. I feel like in that run club kickball scenario, it's a little lessened. I feel like picking your lane is important there if you're not rich.
Maybe, but I just feel like the dating pool would open up to you, especially for one night stands or very short term relationships. If you, I don't want to say like flash money around, but I feel like I think there's a big difference between a rich, normal looking guy who's 45 and just got divorced and a really poor guy who just got divorced who's 45. Like 23-year-olds might want to like cozy up to the 45-year-old with a bunch of money right away. Like that's on the table. I don't feel like it works in the other situation.
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, if you're coming out of a divorce at mid 40s and you also have no money, you better get down to 6% body fat. That's my advice for you.
Personality's got to be, in that 9 or 10. You got to make a girl laugh, and then you might be able to reel it in.
Last question. Is it weird to go to a bar by yourself?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
Wow.
A club, yes. A lounge, yes.
Very weird.
So there is a line.
Well,
There's a line.
Okay, well, let's talk this through for a second, because I feel like you would have a better chance of picking up at least at a club, but you also don't want to be, how old's your friend, like 30?
Yeah, touching 30, yeah.
Don't feel like you want to be by yourself as a 30-year-old in a club around like a whole bunch of 21-year-olds.
It scans weird too. Like there's a predatory element to it if you're like just over on the back wall by yourself, like watching everybody dance.
Yeah.
Like you need to be with a group of people to loosen that conversation starter up.
Or it makes you look very desperate.
For sure.
Yeah, you're off limits regardless. I do feel like a bar, like there are bars that almost like double as like that loungy kind of clubby environment where you can get away with being at the bar and being social and being totally normalized, but walking into a straight club or lounge, I don't think you can really do that.
How about this though? Let's flip it, because I think going to a bar that's either not crowded or just moderately full by yourself strikes me as pretty normal. You saddle up at the bar, talk to the bartender a little bit, watch some sports or whatever. What about going into a packed bar by yourself? Because then you almost have the club dynamic again too, where like everybody's talking and it's loud. Do you then start to seem weird willingly going to a packed bar by yourself?
So I'm of one of two minds of this. I think in the packed bar, you can almost treat that as speed dating in a weird way, because packed bars tend to be a lot louder. You can only really talk to the people that are directly next to you. But even if someone is there with a larger group, let's say there's a group of 4 or 5 ladies that are out together, there's going to be someone who's kind of like on the outside and can't hear what's going on if it's super packed. That gives you an opportunity to start talking to people. Whereas you could probably have a more meaningful conversation with someone in a quieter place that's a bit more open. But that also might be harder just to have an instant convo. So both could work.
I'd feel even more weird going to a more packed place. I would feel like it'd be even more weird not to be flanked by a friend or two. It could be a female that you're flanked by or whatever. But to be there, like, I feel like there's a certain comfort level. If you're like trying to meet a girl, there's a certain comfort level and cred you instantly get if you're flanked by a friend or multiple friends or a group. And I feel like if you're by yourself, especially in a crowded place, I feel like that makes it even more weird somehow. I'm out on that.
The dynamic of having live music is not to be understated either.
Ooh, I hate live music.
Oh,
For sure.
Can't hear shit when there's live music.
but if you're alone, live music makes it way more reasonable that you're there.
100%.
Yeah.
That's the cheat code right there.
Yes, exactly.
See,
Yeah.
I listen, maybe it's because I'm from the East Coast of Canada. I feel like just having alcohol available in somewhere makes it okay for you to go somewhere by yourself.
Yeah.
It's
A bar, but like again, we talked about it. I still feel like the club lounge is not great.
and it's like it's hard enough talking to someone you're familiar with or know when there's whether live music or loud music playing over the speakers, DJ, whatever. Like to me, that is my version of hell of trying to have a first conversation with someone, trying to come off as charming and funny and quick-witted while yelling over music. That is just a recipe for disaster in my head.
I guess it depends on where you're situated. And don't forget these bands or whatever, the live music, they take breaks. So you can kind of, foster some cred as you're just kind of glancing across the bar. And then when there's a break, you can have a conversation. Just throwing it out there.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to do any of this, by the way. It all sounds horrible.
I don't know. I'm very happily married. I don't envision having to deal with these dynamics anytime soon.
Yeah, we're all talking a big game here about like what we would do if we're divorced. Watch this scenario because we can talk from a position of privilege on this one at the moment. In a year's time, we're just gonna have to start our own divorce guys podcast. Be like,
I will say, just
I
like,
actually think that's a
you-
great idea. I actually think that's a great idea. I think we should be consultants for recent, it could be on both sides, but maybe guys, recent divorcees or whatever you call it. And we can kind of teach them about how to reintegrate into the population. Let's do
I
it.
just felt like Sia was on a plane to Fort Lauderdale before Pat's question was even finished. I mean, this guy's been gaming this out
My
for
man,
a while.
I literally today am planning a trip to Fort Lauderdale in April. I go there 4 times a winter. Like CBS sometimes brings me down there, but I voluntarily just go because that's where I used to live. I absolutely love it down there. And I'm married. I can't take advantage of some of the stuff that it has to offer, but I'm telling the single people out there, check it out for a weekend. That's all I'm saying.
I went to when I was there, this is now the Fort Lauderdale podcast. When I was there in August, we went to the really fun tiki bar. Like it feels like you're inside a ship. Have you been there?
I'm not sure where you're talking about necessarily.
Okay. All right. It's in Fort Lauderdale. It was a very fun time, but yeah. Anyways.
are you on the tourism board for Fort Lauderdale?
No. Hey, I'm repping it because I lived on Las Olas for 17 years. It is the perfect spot. It's my favorite. Like if I was going to recommend somebody to like live for a couple of years, it would be live on or near Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, I'll continue with this Fort Lauderdale bit with a pro Fort Lauderdale thing. Like the Fort Lauderdale airport versus the Miami airport,
Oh my God,
just night and day experience. Miami is an absolute nightmare, complete clusterfuck. Fort Lauderdale, very pleasant airport.
Easy.
Experience.
Miami Airport's the worst airport I've ever been to in my life. And I've been there multiple times. I've had many, many issues. Never fly in there unless you absolutely have to.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale for sure.
I had to, the last time I went to Jupiter, it was in like March. It was actually for the DFS Open, the week before COVID started, March 2020. I was in Florida. Shock, I didn't get it. But when I was flying in, there was such bad snow in Toronto that they like delayed that flight, and I was going to PBI, I think. So I just ended up taking a flight to Miami and then taking an Uber from Miami up to Palm Beach Garden.
Can I guess what the Uber cost was? Because that's from Miami Airport to Palm Beach Gardens is a ways.
It's not that far. It was like the reason I did it, I was like, well, that doesn't seem so bad.
It's pretty far.
It's like just over an hour.
Yeah, I mean, in an Uber, that's pretty far. I mean, I'm assuming it was like $150.
I think it was less than that, honestly. This was also 5 years ago. And I took a Lyft because I think Lyft had the better deal on at the time. So I took the Lyft. Yeah, it was like $120. I had to do, because I went to the Wyndham Championship 2 years ago, and my flight got canceled into Greensboro, and I had to fly into, I want to say it was Charlotte. It may have been, what's the other one in North Carolina? Richmond, is that one?
Richmond's Virginia, but
No, what's the other decent-sized city in North Carolina?
Charlotte, Raleigh?
No,
That's not Raleigh.
maybe it is Raleigh. Whatever I flew
Wilmington? Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, the Greensboro one, but I had to fly into the other one, then take an Uber to Greensboro. That was like $400.
Jeez.
Underdog had to pay for
Business
that
expense.
one. I was going on Underdog's dime, Pete, so that had to work. Sia, do you know the last time I saw Pete in person, we did a live show, but then Pete unplugged everything?
And you lost all the footage?
We lost the live feed.
Why did you do that?
I mean, Pat's not giving the full context of the situation there, but yes, in the heat of the moment, the victor was just crowned, and I had been using my laptop to previously like show the live chat, kind of the scene there, because we were doing it all from my laptop. Then I was helping. I think we had some of the stream software for Pat up on my computer, and when the games were finished and they were, giving out the big check to the winner, I impulsively grabbed my laptop again to go show the chat, like, hey, here's the scene, here he is getting the prize and all of this. And in the meantime, it killed Pat's stream, or at least the audio. And then your chat was like very upset, weren't they?
Yeah.
Pat?
Oh yeah, Jared, you were.
I was producing that, and Pete's like the winner's announced, and Pete's like, "Oh my God, guys, I can't wait to show you." And then the screen just turns blue, and it's just Pete going, "Are you guys seeing this? This is crazy." It's nothing on the screen, man.
Yeah,
the chat was fuming.
That's my bad.
To go back to this Canada USA thing for a second, is hockey the best thing for a casual fan between Canada, US for people to get into? Because it's really the only thing Canada's actually good at. Like, if there was a Canada, US soccer game in the World Cup, let's say the round of 16, somehow both teams make it there, do people get as jazzed up about it?
No chance. It's definitely hockey.
And it's also the power ranking element of it. It's that Canada's better at us than hockey. And so we, in this instance, are the underdogs. That's what makes the dynamic fun. Like, even USA versus Canada in basketball. I mean, you guys have gotten better. You got SGA, all that stuff. But like, there wouldn't be the intrigue around it. It'd be like, no, US is expected to win. So I think it's the underdog element specifically that makes it an intriguing hook.
Is that the only, I guess soccer versus, like if it was US versus England in soccer, that would be something like to really get into for a casual fan.
For sure. That would be the equivalent, I think. Except the gap between English soccer and us is apparently far wider than it is between our hockey.
Well, it's funny too, because I spoke about this with Davis last week when he was asking me about hockey, and the whining out of some people in Canada absolutely stuns me. Because we have seen so many times through the playoffs over the years that you can ride a hot goalie to the Stanley Cup final and win. And that's like kind of all you need. That it's like people had never watched sports before. Like, Pete, have you ever bet on a football game where the team that you bet on wildly outplayed the other team and somehow they lost?
For sure. And like, I'm not even a hardcore hockey fan, and even I know about a hot goalie in the playoffs and how that's like the most important thing. And it was like, isn't that what happened? Like, Canada had the better team. We had the better player in that game. Like, and it's at a very, very important position. What more do you people want?
Yeah.
I don't know that there's another sport where there's such a, I mean, obviously there's more sports with more critical positions like quarterback in the NFL, but I don't know that there's a sport where you can shift the power balance just by having that one guy being super hot.
College basketball is the only thing I can think of. Because you can
feel like it's the goal.
You can have that guy on a college basketball team. You see it with mid majors who end up having like
mid majors. Yeah,
like you can have like the super good NBA guy, and he's just randomly like it was a CJ McCollum was on like Lehigh, and they take on Duke. Well, CJ McCollum just went unconscious because he was by far the best player in the game. The other four guys, no one knows who they are. Just he was so good, he beat Duke. And it's also because that's not the top level of basketball. You probably wouldn't be able to do that in the NBA because everyone is just too good. But even when you're dealing with the very top-ranked college schools, there's still college players that one immense talent can completely swing a game.
Steph Curry at Davidson in 2007, I think, would probably be like the biggest example of that. So I hear you.
Yeah,
it's just it's so rare in college, in basketball versus the NHL where a goalie can just turn it on for the playoff run.
He can. Well, it's funny too with the goalies because I mean the U.S. goalie. I think Jared, you watch hockey. Is he like known as he's supposed to be like the best goalie?
Yeah, he's won a couple of like Vezina's best goalie in the league and stuff. But his thing was that he didn't perform at the highest moments. So it's
is he the Jets goalie?
Yeah, he gets shit on every year.
Yeah, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because he fucking loses with the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it actually reminds me a lot of, the fuck was the guy? King Henrik, the Rangers goalie. Lundqvist, yeah. He was like the best goalie forever, couldn't do shit in the NHL, and then he got as hot as possible in the Olympics, and Sweden won the Olympics. So
I have a question for them.
Yeah.
Do you guys think as Americans that the celebration is like do you guys consider it over the top, or you're like, yeah, like, you know, get after it, guys?
Well, I guess I mean, I saw the clips in the locker room. I saw our head of FBI shotgunning some beers. I thought that was a little aggressive. But as far as
I enjoyed that, by the way.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, so they went from that to immediately to Miami.
My take was it was a matter of national security. He was like one of the old royal taste testers who had to like taste the monarch or the king's food before he had to make sure those beers were good for our boys. But I guess I didn't see any. Okay, yeah, maybe the whole thing at the State of the Union address, if we're carrying that over as part of the celebration, yeah, I think it got a little out of hand. But I mean, having a few pops in the locker room with the boys, I think that's fair game after winning the gold.
But
yeah, I have no issue with the celebration, like the immediate aftermath stuff, even in the locker room. But yeah, like extending it out to, you know, whether it's the State of Union or some of the other stuff, it feels like it's a little much at this point. Like we can be a little bit better when it comes to that.
Well, usually hockey celebrations aren't so public.
That's true.
Like, for example, if you guys know Chris Meany, friend of the show, Chris Meany, he's getting married later on this summer at a place up by us. It's like a private resort. There's a golf course there. And it's where a lot of NHL teams have gone after winning the Stanley Cup to go and do their party, because it is a private place where they can crash cars drunk driving around and no one's going to say anything, kind of thing, and do whatever they want up at this place. But it never gets out because, you know, it's private property. It was just weird to see a hockey celebration be so public, because most of that stuff is usually so private.
Well, I think that's probably part of the problem with the NHL, though, right? It's not widely watched like some of the other sports, and maybe it never will be, but having some of these players a little bit more marketable and a little bit more public. I mean, being more public obviously has its consequences too, but having these guys featured a little bit more, whether it's on the Olympics or in the celebration, might get some more fans to watch these games.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I think that nuts and bolts, you're absolutely correct about that, about the marketability. Will people get to tune in? But Pete, there's a reason that people who live in cold weather states like hockey more than hot weather states.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I think is different about the carryover, and I think a good parallel is when Caitlin Clark went from college to WNBA. Like, she was the singular draw, and so that through line was very clear. You enjoyed watching Caitlin Clark in the NCAA tournament. Now you can go watch her play in the WNBA. This is a little amorphous in that people are rooting for the team. They're rooting for the entity. They're going to all go be scattered on their own individual teams. And yes, maybe someone is interested in how, Jack Hughes plays on his team, but it doesn't have the quite one-for-one carryover that is going to lead to just a massive influx in interest, I think.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the Olympics. I'm just saying the NHL in general could probably, just like Major League Baseball, in my opinion, although they're doing a better job lately because they have some superstars. But I think the NHL could do a much better job marketing their stars to get the average casual, I only kind of watch in the playoffs fan to maybe start paying attention in the regular season.
The issue with that is every hockey player essentially has the same no personality.
As far as we know.
No.
Did you tell me nobody's marketable? None of the top 30 stars are marketable in the NHL?
Most of the top marketable stars don't speak the best English. Like, the most fun people in the NHL are all like Eastern Europeans.
Still marketable. Still put them on commercials. I think of like George Murison for
but he was like an oddity because he was 9 feet tall.
Do you know what I think would be a good idea for me as a guy? Because I'm thinking, so one of my buddies, and he's our like resident big hockey fan in our group chat and whatever. And whenever there's something interesting going in hockey, he gives us like the whole backstory of like, this is why these two dudes don't like each other, have bad blood. I feel like a lot of interest in hockey does come from this element of, is there going to be a fight? Who doesn't like each other? Whatever. I need like a bad blood index. Like before the game, I'm like, who are the two guys that have previous beef? Why do they not like each other? Who's the enforcer here? What is something I can keep an eye out for where it might get extra chippy and lead to something very exciting and physical? I think that's what I need to get like really hooked in more of these storylines.
The other issue with some of these sports that have been around for a long time in America and are, let's say, fringe popularity, I would put soccer into this mix. I would put hockey into this mix. UFC to a lesser extent. I don't know about NASCAR or golf. I don't see it in golf, but maybe I'm too inside the bubble. Is that there's just a lot of gatekeeping that goes on with fans of these sports as well. And I think that was a part of the Canadian whining about it. It's like, well, Americans don't even care about hockey. No. And then it ends up making you look worse. Like you're the biggest weirdo in the world. It's like, just let people enjoy it. But I think that's also why it doesn't translate back over to the NHL is that, that you can just watch the Olympics or countries take on countries once every 2 years, once every 4 years for the Olympics, once every 2 years for something else. And that's just good enough for people for hockey.
Yeah, I mean, that's clearly true to some degree. I just think that is a result. That is a product of maybe the NHL not doing a good job marketing its stars. And frankly, I don't know that I have the answer in terms of how to properly market their stars. It just doesn't seem to me like they're trying really hard. That's not like a very important thing for them. And I think it could help the sport.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I just don't like, why aren't we trying? Why am I not seeing some of these guys showcased on commercials and whatever it is?
Well, because no one wants to pay them because no one knows who they are.
No, that's the thing. I mean, one thing's going to be true because the other thing is true. You got to at least try to figure that out.
Maybe, but you don't want to put, you're in New England, Pete, are there hockey players on like local ads for stuff?
Sure. Yeah, there's some iconic Bruins players that get thrown around there, but I don't even know if they're household names. You know, I see way more Drake May billboards around here than I do with the Bruins. Here's a question that we were kind of dancing around with this topic, the element of, there was a lot of like the kind of smug Canadian reaction about the bandwagon fans, and we were talking about that element. I think this is just a problem that can't be solved because I've been on both sides of it. When like normies talk to me about football and the NFL, and it's just like so painful. And it's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the ins and outs of this. And yet I am the casual with all of these things. And it's like, yeah, let me be a casual World Cup fan. Let me be a casual Olympic hockey fan. Like, just be glad that we're watching the sport. And yet I know from that same perch, say the Canadian diehard hockey fan, I wouldn't like me in my reactions to the game either. And is this even solvable, or is this just a dynamic we have to live with?
Well, this is the discourse that we need for this to do in order to grow hockey. You need to let these people in. That's why I talked about the gatekeeping a lot. Is that there's so even with some of the hockey people that I know, soccer people are the absolute worst at this. Jared, you're a soccer guy, right? If I wanted to tell you something about the EPL that I heard, you'd be like, you don't even know anything about the EPL.
It comes off as like, I'm sure Pete's the same way. It just comes off as cringy. Like, it's just not a ball knower, and you're just like, you clearly don't know.
But more people of any sport, like we all work in sports. Clearly, we should know about whatever sport that we cover. Even if you think that I'm an absolute moron when it comes to football, I probably know more about football than like 98% of the population. Now, in my own industry, I probably know, towards the bottom end of a lot of that of people who cover football full time. But I still do that when I talk to someone who's like watches a Monday Night Football game every 2 weeks, then wants to talk to me about football, I agree, it sucks. But that's the majority of the audience.
But again, I think the majority of the audience, the casual audience, they don't identify with teams. They identify with superstars, whether it's basketball, even football. Yeah, we identify with teams, but we're looking at the superstars in terms of how we market the games, especially in the NBA. And I think with the NHL, if we knew who some of the superstars were and you got some personality from them or just anything from them from a publicity standpoint, you would not attach yourself to like the Montreal Canadiens or to the Washington Capitals. You'd attach yourself to the superstars of those teams. That would make you more inclined to watch those teams, not because of the team itself, but because of the star you saw on TV.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that hockey is built more like football in that way, is that football still doesn't really even have these people. Like football is just you root for the team. In hockey, you root for the team. In basketball is really the only outlier in that. And so much of it has to do is that they play sports where you can see their faces. You can actually recognize them.
NFL, though, is starting to shift. I mean, I feel like it's such a quarterback-driven league. It's such a superstar skill position league that when you're marketing those games, yeah, of course you're talking about the teams, but you're seeing Pat Mahomes, you're seeing Josh Allen. Like you're seeing the best player before you're thinking of the team, in my opinion, from a marketing standpoint.
I would think of it as, yes, the quarterbacks are, I mean, Travis Kelce is probably the most known player in the NFL solely because of his relationship with Taylor Swift. He is the most generally visible NFL player. But I think even if you took the highest, Pete, who would you say is the most visible quarterback? Mahomes?
Yeah, I still think it's Mahomes. I could see that shifting in a year or two, but for now, he's still king.
Well, there's also that part of it, too, that football does shift so often that it's hard to build longevity. It's like UFC, that one bad punch and your career's over in UFC, no matter. Look at Ronda Rousey. She just kind of faded away after being like the biggest thing for so long. Once you stop winning, that becomes a problem. And then just not being very visible. Like if you had to compare, like think about all of the biggest athletes in our lifetime. American athletes. Who were they? Probably of like that had name recognition outside of just the sports world. Like MJ, LeBron, Tiger.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All sports where like basketball is a team sport, but you could be individually awesome at that sport, win and make a difference. And when the camera is on you, people can see what you look like. You still can't see that with Patrick Mahomes. He's wearing a helmet.
Yeah, but like they get marketed. Like Tom Brady, I would put on that list as well, in spite of the fact that he wears a helmet.
I really wouldn't. I don't think that Tom Brady is huge in the sporting world. I feel like he has no traction outside of it.
I think I'm talking in terms of recognition, like recognizing an athlete.
And I think him doing like the roast on Netflix, that even took him to like a whole level of household name that he probably wasn't at before. But yeah.
I tried to do it with the grandma test. I mean, my grandma's getting pretty old at this point. I think she's like 79. That used to be my barometer of like, hey, how casually famous is this person? I just asked my grandma if they knew who they were, because she just would read People magazine.
That's fair.
But we don't. But we don't have those barometers anymore. Like, does People magazine still exist?
Magazines don't exist. I mean, I know I see them, but I don't know that anybody actually. Do people buy magazines still? Have you guys bought a magazine in the last 4 years?
No.
Not even in the airport do I buy magazines anymore.
No. The thing is, I will say, like, I've done the thing where I saw a cover story or something that looked interesting to me, and then I just go and find it online, you know? It just the idea of, and again, they're just absolutely littered with ads. I think unless there's like some photos that you like really want or something, I can't really imagine what the appeal is of a magazine. I guess it's it feels so directly correlated to planes pre-internet, right? And it's like, I want something breezy to flip through while I'm killing time on the flight. But now 95% of flights have solid internet, and you're just going to do that on your phone in a very boutique way. You don't need that magazine experience.
What do you guys do on flights? Like, do you have a routine that you go through? Because I took a flight to London last summer and had no Wi-Fi, and I was like, I was not prepared for this.
Oh, that's not good. You didn't have anything saved on your like iPad or whatever. I've got iPads with me. Well, usually just one, but I'll have something probably preloaded on the iPad.
Or fucking iPads over here. Yeah, I got my 4 fucking iPads. Watch 4 screens at once on the plane.
Well, I have 2 iPads that I bring everywhere with me. Everywhere. I do all my work on iPads. I use like Google Docs. It's incredibly easy. With that said, yeah, I have something preloaded on my iPad, or maybe I'll like look at like work related stuff. Even without Wi-Fi, I can preload stuff on my iPad and just look at that.
I have a book in my bag at all times now. Not that I read it, but just in case of emergency, I have a book.
That's where we are on books.
That's what I do. I take my Kindle with me on like any flight, and it's always just the break glass in case of emergency, because generally it's like, okay, I have this time to catch up on work, do things on my laptop. And that's the fallback option of just being a normal person and reading leisurely for a few hours on a flight.
I bought a Nintendo Switch. It was the best investment I ever made.
Wow.
I don't love it.
Really?
I mean, it just seems like you're so busy.
You are from the 1950s, so yeah, of course you hate video games.
No, I think the Nintendo is great, but like I just feel like you of all people, just like have your hands in so many different things. You're so busy. I'm just surprised you're spending like 2 hours on a Nintendo Switch.
It's funny. I try to do the only work that I do, unless there's something critical that I need to get to. I weirdly treat a plane as like a no workspace. I don't want to work on here. I'm just going to kick back and just like try to kill the time as fast as possible. Although working would probably kill the time as faster than anything. But the amount of emails that I delete on a plane is shocking. Like I will go back through like past 18 months of emails. Like don't even, just because I forget to delete them all. It's like, oh, this will take some time. Let's go. And then like you see stuff that you forgot about. And it's like, oh yeah, I really should have billed for that 8 months ago. And you can end up coming up like plus EV move going through your emails.
Do you want to see how many unread emails I have on my Gmail right now?
How do you not? We lost Pete. How do you have unread emails?
Well, because most of them are junk and I don't really know how to delete them, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Like, in other words, I don't know how to mass delete them. I'm trying to like figure it out with Gmail and I don't really know how to do it. So sometimes I'll just manually erase stuff, but I don't really have the time to do that.
How many junk emails go to your normal folder? Like, shouldn't all your junk emails go to your junk folder?
I'm using junk as a more of a catch-all for like any type of email. An email that's just not that important isn't necessarily a junk email. If you just saw that, I flashed it on your screen. It's 17,150 unread on my Gmail account.
Hold on, say that again.
17,150.
17,150 emails. So what you're saying is that you're on like lists. Someone stole your email account. When you go to Eddie Bauer to buy your shirts, then you get on their email list and they send you 5 of them a day. My golf course is really bad at this. We had to talk to the general manager because they were sending us 2 emails a day from the club. It's like, I only need emails when like stuff significant, like the course is closed. Email me. My tee time is this time. Send me the confirmation. I don't need like daily updates about what's going on at the pub and what deals are on. Make that a separate list that someone can opt into. And I thought it was just me. And I started talking to my friends about it. They noticed the same thing. And then I'd be paired up with these like random people in the morning because, Sia, not a lot of people have the ability to go play golf every week at 9 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. So it's me and a bunch of 65-year-olds who just retired. And then they're complaining about it as well. So we were able to galvanize the people to make 2 separate email lists.
Well, a lot of it too is like I do the early edge every morning and emails, like 5 or 6, 7 emails with like picks and stuff come in every morning. I don't even bother clicking on those emails because I don't need to. I can look at the rundown. So a lot of those I just don't take the time to erase. So, and I don't mind seeing the 17,000 number. So I just kind of skip right past them.
Pete, do you have 17,000 unread emails?
No, I'm an inbox 0 bro.
Whoa,
I mean,
me too.
I don't like you know how Gmail, they'll classify like the promotion. So like I don't mess with that stuff. But as far as like my primary and like a couple of the other important ones, I'm very tidy with my emails. It gives me a lot of anxiety when I go a few days and haven't cleaned that up.
It's like you would never see me unless I was off doing something and didn't have my phone with me, that I would just never have any unread text messages either. Like I would look at it always.
Yeah. I don't, there's something about it and maybe it is like a gamified thing, like the inbox 0 element that gets to me, but it's just like, I feel like I want to clear the decks. I want everything clean and well manicured. Okay. Now I can get in the headspace to do real work.
Text messages have like a certain level of urgency and practicality to them where I'm not going to have like unread text messages. Unread emails, it's fine with me.
I also will always read, whether it be like a Facebook chat, a group text, or an Instagram like group text. If people are like sending me, if certain people are sending me stuff, like I'm going to read them right away because I need to see that. And no one else in the world needs to see that.
I wish like on text message, I would love like similar to the email, right? How you can snooze an email and have it come back like a little later. I don't need that for email, but I'd actually like it for text message of like, I'll respond to this in an hour. Like, can you resend this to me in an hour? I think I would actually utilize that.
That's actually a great feature.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's get offline and let's build that. And then we can sell it to Apple. And then we never have to do the show again until we all get divorced and do the Divorced Dads podcast.
But at least we will have money after that divorce.
We're doing it live from Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
It's a manual. We should write a book that nobody will buy.
Listen, people don't buy books anymore. I was arguing about this with Cuss last night. It's like, I think it was Malcolm Gladwell was talking that his physical book sales versus the people who buy audio books or the Kindle version of his book is like 50-1 now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do like reading a physical book, though. I've started really
It's
actively
nice.
trying to read a physical copy of a book.
The thing that derails me is the majority of my reading time is before bed and my wife's already asleep. And so the Kindle's perfect because it's dark. I can have the low lighting on it. I can read. And so then going back and forth between like a hard copy and the Kindle just doesn't become viable. So the Kindle just kind of wins out. But my idealized version of reading is like on a beach with a beer in my hand with a hard copy book. I mean, that's peak.
I get it.
Sia, tell the peoples where they can find you.
I post on Twitter probably too much. Find me at Sia Nejad on Twitter. I'm doing a new show called No Plays Off with a guy you know very well, Thorb and Adam Kaufman, Pat, and Early Edge on Sportsline every morning at 10 o'clock.
Sia, you have 29,000 posts on Twitter.
Is that a lot or not a lot? I have no idea.
I'm guessing that's not a lot. Let me see I have 220,000 posts.
So I wasn't active on Twitter until like 2018. I think that's part of the issue there.
All right. I'm at 47.8K.
I went through a big stretch when I was with Fantasy Network that I would say, like back when people used to click links on articles, that I would just schedule my article like 8 times a day. Just I'd sit there in the morning, same tweet, schedule, good to go. So I'm guessing most of them are that.
Is there a sweet spot with tweets where people, if they have your notifications turned on, like don't get annoyed? You know what I mean? Like what's too much?
I don't know because I don't have notifications for anything turned on. So I have no idea how that world works.
I don't either. I've thought about it before. The only one I have on is there's this account that tweets out touchdowns on Sunday. And so like when I'm not able to watch, I like just getting the little dopamine burst of who scored a touchdown. But my thing is, if someone is self-selecting to wanting your tweets, they're probably on board for the whole thing. I heard I was listening to this podcast the other day and they were interviewing a guy who had gotten really into the prediction market stuff. And he was getting like a notification for every single new market posted on the site, like literally thousands of notifications a day. I think some people just have a massive appetite for this. I know there's people who get notifications for every Discord message in a specific channel. Like that blows my mind, but I think people are pro notifications.
Yeah. Okay.
I lied. I have one turned on. PGA Tour comms is what I have turned on in case someone withdraws 5 minutes from lock. That's it. There you go.
And then you can put out an email to the hundreds of thousands of followers you have. And somebody like me who ignores his emails because he has 17,150 unread doesn't realize that Jason Day has withdrawn from a tournament in 2025 and he's still in my lineup.
You know what? That was the most thanks I ever got from anyone ever was sending out that email.
Yeah. The Jason Day email.
Sia, have you ever had it backfire on you? Have you ever had like, oh my goodness, I should have seen that email or that was bad?
No, because I see them. I see them come in, and I just kind of know. I generally have my phone on. I kind of know what to ignore, what is excessive, what is redundant, and what I actually need to read. And so I don't think that's ever happened to me, fortunately.
Pete, you have a snowblower?
Yeah.
Oh, what a life! What a life you lead.
I mean, it's either that. Okay, so I'll give you it was like a couple storms ago. These neighborhood kids offered to do it, and I was just feeling really lazy. I have my snowblower and I'm like, I will pay you. And these kids like raked me over the coals. They kept he sent me a new price sheet. This is like a 17-year-old kid. He's like, oh, actually, once it's over 12 inches, it's by the inch. He sent me this. I was like, maybe tell me this ahead of time. Next time I thought I just had a couple 17-year-old kids with shovels that were going to be happy with $15 an hour. Next thing you know, I'm shelling out hundreds of dollars to these kids. So yeah, no, I'm back to doing it myself.
Sia, do you live in a complex where someone does that? Do you pay someone? Do you do it? How does this work?
Oh, we've got a house now. I was condo life back in Fort Lauderdale, of course, but no house now. Wife and I do it. So we have a reasonably big driveway, but it's not that big. So yeah, it's not. We can do the entire driveway in probably 30 minutes.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
When you say we, how much is we?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I didn't want to say this.
Oh,
Well,
my
I
God.
mean,
We've had two
does she have
storms.
time to shovel the driveway when she's making dinner?
Well, we've had 2 storms. So here's the thing. The really bad storm that basically turned into ice, that like if you're in the DC area and just like north of that, you know that snow was on the ground for like basically 3 weeks. And what happened was, Pat, remember I was going to be on a golf show with you a few weeks ago, and I was like, and I basically told you I was stuck in Fort Lauderdale for some work stuff. Long story short, my wife had to fly back with the kids before I did. And so she took it upon herself with basically like 8 inches of ice on the driveway to shovel the driveway. I wasn't even there. I had no say in it. So when you ask the question, it's a pretty good question because I wasn't physically able to help her on the harder of the 2 snow shovel moments. Second one, I was there and I did a good amount of it.
I like that the inference that Jared was putting on is that she doesn't help you when in fact she did it all.
Well, we already talked about her, the breakfast thing and all that. So I
Shovel
kind
the
of figured he was going
driveway.
the other way with the question. Driveway too.
If we learned anything about Sia today, it's his wife does everything for him. And the second she stops, this guy is buying a one-way ticket to Fort Lauderdale and hitting the beach.
She's a bodybuilder, or at least was. She's got to exercise those muscles. She's totally into it. Basically volunteering for it.
How much snow do you have right now, Pete? Like 2 feet?
Yeah, we had over 2 feet Monday and Tuesday. Yeah.
It is brutal for me because like the snow hasn't melted here yet. So we got what you got. But we got the lesser version of it after it just kept coming up the coast. But I can't back out of my driveway and see what's coming now because the snow is so high.
Yeah.
I'm blocked, and I'm like, uh-oh. It's a real like hold your breath, like back out. Like in that situation, do you back out as slow as possible? Because I live at the top of a blind crest too, which is just god awful. That is the move to go out slowly so people can like, because people don't stop is the thing. If they see me coming out, it's happened. They're coming up the road. They see me starting to back out. I can't see them, obviously, because the snow is blocking me. They don't stop. They just try to like swerve around me. So I don't know how fast or slow I should be backing out of the driveway anymore.
Yeah, I think the move is you go slow, and then you have to show what, just like 2 inches of your bumper and just hope that someone sees it and slows way down. But it's a tough spot. I had the thing with the snow removal of this storm where I got, it was taking me so long to do because there was so much snow that I didn't end up plowing our entire driveway. And the downside of that is I now need to do like an 8-point turn coming out of my garage because I didn't give myself enough room for doing that. But it's a trade-off I was okay to make. I'm like, I will just deal with this because spending more time out here removing snow didn't seem fun to me at the time.
See, I don't mind shoveling snow, but I refuse to cut my own lawn.
I'm with you on that.
I hate mowing the lawn. I don't mind shoveling snow. I don't.
Yeah, that's how we do it too.
I'm on the opposite side of that. I don't mind snow blowing. Shoveling is quite literally back breaking work there. I would much rather push a mower than actually shovel.
See, I feel like I can skip my workout for the day if there's enough snow that if I finish the driveway, I feel like I got a good workout in. There's no working out with cutting the lawn. You're just kind of like steadily walking in pace for half an hour. It sucks.
Yeah, I think I always mentally have a hard time writing off non-exercise as exercise. Like, I don't think I would allow myself I'm not saying it doesn't count. You're burning calories. You're lifting heavy objects. I'm just saying for me, it's hard to count it.
Well, I have to count it because after shoveling the driveway, Pete, I can't work out the next day because I have to have a heating pad on my back.
That's fair. That's very fair.
The Peter Overzet YouTube channel. You got Lols coming on Thursdays. Are you and Brick going every week now?
No, I mean, that was, a horrible time for me to promote stuff because I'm just kind of taking a little bit of a break. Even
Good.
last week,
I'm
I was
jealous.
like, can we do this this week? But no, I'm gonna start doing some drafts again. The sickos want their best ball stream. So within the next week, the YouTube channel will get humming again. But yeah, low period for me right now.
So what I'm gonna do is send you a collab link on YouTube when this show is up.
Do it.
And I have no idea what that does, but it keeps asking me to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Davis and I have been doing that for a lot of our shows, Swole Cash, ship chasing and stuff, and it does help. It's definitely helped to get it out to more people.
Yeah, I think it gets it out to more people, and then it allows, and we'll do it with you too, Sia, that it allows people who are watching the show to see your guys' channel to go over to see you too. I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I have an aggressively small YouTube channel, so happy to have that over there.
Wow, the more people, the better that we can get going over there. What people need to do is up to this YouTube channel. Try to come up with a name for this show. Vibes, Jared, were different this week, would you say?
Vibes were different, not bad.
See, this is what I want. I want good vibes, just different vibes every single week as we talk this out. So thank you guys for coming on. Thank you all for supporting the show and watching this. Continue to try to make we're making Thursdays great again, hopefully. Because Thursdays are a real downtime in the non-football season for me. So I hope we can provide a show that you can listen to at any time over the next month if you really want to, because there's nothing really pressing happening on this show. Stay for the vibes, stay for the chill, review the show and sub to the channel and smash the like while you're here, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!